me know if we're live, if anybody's in the chat. How's everyone doing? Daniel here from the Next Issue podcast. I'll give it a few minutes. But today is December 20th, and this is actually a bit of an unusual time for me to do this. But I was off work. Okay. I was off work today because I went to watch. I went to watch the new Star Wars movie, but don't worry, no spoilers here. No, I won't be discussing that. I had to run some errands, and here I am. I didn't get to do this on Wednesday. I'm normally trying to do it on Wednesday. And if anybody is in the chat, let me know how this sounds. Oh, I could do stuff from my phone too. Cool. Let me see here. I don't think we have anyone watching yet, but that's all right. I'll start in 1 second. For those that joined me last time, you'll know that it was a. I don't know why it says mature audiences. I don't think we have anyone watching yet. Okay, cool. So the stream working. I'm just gonna. I have 3 piles of books right here. Well, 4 piles with my big black label books. And I'm just gonna talk about each book that I'm getting that I picked up this week. The cool thing about this week, and unfortunate for my wallet, is that there was a lot of books this week. Because next Wednesday is Christmas in the U.S., and then the Wednesday after that it's gonna be January 1st. A lot of books got moved over to this week to kind of take advantage of this being the actual last week. I think a lot of Marvel and DC books. I don't know about a lot of the indie promotion, the indie labels. I don't think they moved stuff around as much. But we'll see. Let's see. Let me pull up my Twitter here to if anybody wants to join there. Cool. And if anyone does join the chat, make sure to let me know what you're picking up, because there's a lot of times I just don't know. Like, I don't know about books and stuff. Real quick, I hope you guys like the newer setup. I'm working on making this more like just rearranging stuff and getting an actual, not studio because it's not a studio, but just make it look a little bit more like a interesting place to actually watch and have a conversation. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Excuse me. We'll go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with the independent comics. So this is pretty much everything. I call independent comics anything that's outside of Marvel and DC. Just it's easier for me to manage that 3 different piles of books. And we'll start with this book. It's called Gungho. I know nothing about this book. Gunho Black Sheep. So I know nothing about this book. I picked it up because the cover caught my attention, and it's also by an imprint that I'm not familiar with. Ablaze One. Oh, I guess that's the number. Ablaze Comics. I don't think I've ever heard of them. I'm not very familiar with the creative team either, and I don't know what the story is about. But I opened the book, and the art inside it's beautiful. It's very very painterly like, and I'll try to show you guys in a minute. So this is written by Benjamin von Eckersberg. Sorry about that. With art by Thomas von Kumont. And then there's a full gallery of cover artists here in the back for their different covers, I guess. Yep. So the main cover is by Gerald Perel, and as you can see, it's that very painterly style. I think that looks good. Let me open up to a page where you can kind of see what I'm talking about with the art. It looks to be digital, but I'm not sure, and I don't know how well this will look on screen. But uh, it's interesting. It looks interesting. Let's see. In the near future, the White Plague has decimated the planet's population. So who knows what that is? Today's civilization is just a bittersweet memory. The world has become a danger zone. Survival is only possible in fortified cities and settlements. Okay, so an apocalyptic type of book. I think we get a lot of those. Uh, Obeying the rules of matter of life and death. Every child knows that until they become teenagers. With their laziness, rebelliousness, violence, and bad attitude, the characters Zack and Archer have gone too far. Okay, so it looks like it's about some rebellious teenagers in the apocalypse, which I can definitely get on board with. Um, Next up, we have a book from Dark Horse, and this was actually recommended to me by my buddy Kyle. I met Kyle through listening to the I Read Comic Books podcast. You can see the sticker here. And I actually, Kyle, he guest starred in one of the latest episodes, I believe 2 weeks ago, and he recommended this book. It's by Jeff Lemire. So Jeff Lemire is one of my favorite writers, but I really know nothing about this. And I believe he said it was set in the Black Hammer universe that Jeff Lemire is running over in Black the Dark Horse. So Skull Digger number one, Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy, written by Jeff Lemire, with art by Tunsi Sunjik and letters by Steve Wands. So this is just all the art is done by the same artist. So if you dig the cover, which I really do, I think you'll probably dig the interiors. Let's see. Once again, I have no idea what this book's about. A lot of these independent books, I just picked them up because I want to check something out, something that's new and different. Um, so there's nothing wrong with picking a number one. Now these next few books actually they're ongoing, so they're not number. Well, this one's a number one. So we have the Return of the Old Guard, Force Multiplied. Now, if you have not read the Old Guard, it's a book by Greg Rucka. I think it's Leonardo Fernandez. Leandro, with art by Leandro Fernandez, colors by Daniela Miwa, and letters by Jody Wine. This is an image book. The Old Guard, there was 5 issues prior to this, in its own mini series. I guess now they're just kind of doing mini series, maybe calling it different titles as the volumes go by. It's been a little while since we got an Old Guard book. This one, it's about it's a group of immortal warriors that find each other, and they're trying to their whole goal is to find all the other immortals, just to kind of get together as a group, and then that's kind of what leads to their conflict. I haven't read it. I don't think I've read anything from this week. So there's gonna be no spoilers on that. But I also can't tell you if things are good or bad. But I really like this. I really like the first run of the Old Guard. I think it was a very interesting book. So I'm definitely gonna check out the next run. Next we have one of my favorite ongoing books, and this one I'm two behind. But this week we got Ones in Future. This book is from Boom Studios by Kieran Gillen. Kieran Gillen, you might have read some of his stuff. He did a lot of work for Marvel. He did a really famous Darth Vader series. He's the writer on Wicked and the Divine, and this is one of his latest books. Um, and the art is by Dan Mora, who I love his stuff. I love Dan Mora's stuff in WWE comics. He did Clouds with Grant Morrison as well. And it's colors by Tamra Bonvillain and letter by Ed Dukeshire. So, if you know nothing about this book, it's about a young man who discovers that his grandmother's in some kind of, mm, I don't want to say cult, but because it's not a cult, it's like a group of individuals that are there to protect the kingdom. But obviously, this takes place in the current times. So England as a kingdom has changed a lot. But then there's a group of bad people. That one's more like a cult. That their whole mission is to resurrect the old king. So it's very interesting. It's got a lot of. If you like fantasy, I think you'll enjoy this. If you like knights and medieval stuff, I think you'll enjoy this. The grandmother in this book is pretty kick ass. And like I said, the art is fantastic. I think. Let me see if I can find a splash page. Um, and I know it doesn't look super cool on this on the spoiler for me. Yeah, I'm too behind on this, so I haven't. So I won't show you guys anything from the inside. But look at the back. The king is undead. So that'll just kind of tell you the stakes that we're playing with here. Now the next book, and let me take this out of the. So a lot of my independent books, I get them from Titan Comics here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Um, and Titan Comics is very good about all the more mature titles. Anything that will have violence or sexual topics or illustrations, stuff like that. They'll put them in a bag and board just so you can't really open it at the shop. Mainly for younger readers that maybe it's not stuff they should be looking at. So the next one I have here is Heartbeat by Maria Jovet, I think. Lovet, maybe. I believe she's Spanish. But this is from Boom Studios. This is a book that apparently, and I got some information from, if you listen to the I Read Comic Books podcast, and Tia Vasilio, she told me, she said on there that this book, she had already read it in French. So I'm buying the English version, but I'm looking for the Spanish version because I believe there is one out there, just so I can read the book. I believe it's a miniseries, so there's not that many issues of this. I believe like 5 or 6 are in the collected French edition that you can see on Comixology. I don't know how to read French, but I do know how to read Spanish. So if I could get my hands on the Spanish version, I would definitely read it. If not, I'll just wait till all the English books are out, and then I'll go ahead and read those. Um, this is another book that I have no, and I know I say this a lot, but I don't know what this book's about. There's just something about the art and the cover that and then the recommendation from somebody that I trust with the comic recommendations. Uh, that just kind of makes me want to grab it and pick it up and get into it. So that's all for the independent comics. There is one more book, but I don't pick it up. It's my only digital subscription called Going to the Chapel. Let me pull that up so I can. I won't be able to show you guys because I guess I can share my screen, but I'm not gonna mess with it right now. So this book, I did try to get it physically when it first came out, but I didn't pre-order it. I didn't know about the book until it was too late to pre-order. Um, but I really wanted to read it, so I actually subscribed digitally. I don't buy a lot of digital books on release date for a couple of reasons. Mainly because I feel like that's a lot of money for something that you don't have your hands on. I like to grab, hold my books. Uh, oh, that's number one. Yeah, so Going to the Chapel, issue number 4, written by David Pipos. Sorry about that again. This is from Action Lab. Art by Gavin Godry, color by Liz Kramer, and the covers are by this cover in particular is by Joanna the Mad. Um, yeah, so that's kind of how I came to know about this book. Like I said, I didn't find it physically in any of the shops around, so I just went ahead and subscribed. But the reason, like I said, I don't subscribe digitally to a lot of books because I like supporting the local shops, and I'm doing some reevaluation, and I'll talk about that at the end of the stream about what my plan is going forward for 2020 when it comes to collecting because I'm making some changes to my collection habits. Okay. We'll start with the Star Wars books from Marvel. First, we have Star Wars Empire Ascendant, number one. This looks like a series of stories because there's a lot of creators on this team. Yep, there's four stories. And I believe this kind of wraps up the first wave of Star Wars books. Um, and there's a Dr. Aphra story here called Epilogue. Uh, so obviously you don't want to read that until you read the full Dr. Aphra story. But this has some of the. It feels kind of like a preview book for what's upcoming for Star Wars in 2020. As you guys may or may not know, they are relaunching all the Star Wars series, and they'll take place between. Whereas the first wave of Marvel books took place between episode 4 and 5, this next wave of books will probably take place after episode 5. Um, so that seems to be a pretty smart decision on the Marvel side. There's kind of a it's kind of a double-edged sword. You want to get more Star Wars books, but if it's between two movies that you already know the outcome, obviously the stakes can be a little bit lower with the main characters. But they do a lot of cool world building. There's a lot of concepts that you may be seeing in the movies nowadays that came from these comics. So I think that's pretty cool. The other Star Wars book, it's The Rise of Kylo Ren, number one. This is a book exploring the origins of Kylo Ren, written by Charles Soule, with art by Will Sliney, Guru FX on colors, VC's Travis Lanham on letters, and the cover by one of my favorites, Clayton Crane. Um, the teaser for this is with Ben Solo's fall to the dark side of the Force. Okay, with Ben Solo's fall to the dark side of the Force will come the rise of Kylo Ren. So if you've seen The Force Awakens, you know that there's some stuff going on that that leads Ben Solo to become Kylo Ren. So this series, it's a mini series, I believe 5 or 6 issues. That'll tell you what you need to know if you're a fan of Kylo Ren or if you're just a completionist when it comes to Star Wars. All right, I'm gonna speed up a little bit because we're at 18 minutes and I have two big piles to go through still. Next up, we have Venom 21. I don't have a lot to say about this. This just except that I picked this up mainly because of the cover, another Clayton Crane cover. Um, this book is by Donny Cates with Mark Bagley on art, Andy Owens on inks, and Frank Martin and Eric Arcienega on colors, with Clayton Cowles on letters. So this takes place after Absolute Carnage, and I think this is what we're seeing before the Venom Island crossover starts. Next up, we have Agents of Atlas number 5. This is the book that follows a lot of our Asian and Pacific Islander heroes. So Greg Pak is writing this, which I've said before. Greg Pak is one of my favorite writers. I'm not caught up on this because I'm waiting, but this is part 5 of the story, written by Greg Pak. art by Nico Leon, um, colors by Rachelle Rosenberg, and VC's Joe Sabino on letters, and the cover by Jun Young Yoon. I hope I said that so correctly. Let me tell you about the team real quick, since that way you can kind of see if this is something you want to jump into. So Jimmy Woo, Silk, aka Cindy Moon, Braun, who is Amadeus Cho's new name as the Hulk, because the Hulk is back in his own book. Shang-Chi, Jaimin, but it's Ras Malhotra, who is the Jaimin from. He's from India, from Mumbai. White Fox, Luna Snow, Crescent, Wave, and Arrow and Swordmaster. So Arrow and Swordmaster actually have their own comic books, and they were all kind of reintroduced in War of the Realms. They formed the Agents of Atlas. So I'm really enjoying that. I enjoyed their story there. That was also written by Greg Pak. So I'm looking forward to reading this. Next up, one of my favorite books that I'm reading, even though I'm behind one issue. Wenpul Strikes Back. This is issue number 5, and I don't know if you can see that. That that looks like a live action picture. And then in the title, there's if you know anything about Wenpul, quick recap of her origin. She is somebody from our world, like the real world that went into the comic books. So the fact that this one says Wenpul goes home question mark, kind of leads me to believe that you never know what's going to happen to Wenpul. This is written by a favorite of mine as well, Leah Williams, with art by David Baldion, Jesus Aburtov, and Guru FX on colors, and VC's Joe Carmagana on letters. Oh, so there, Elena Strikes and Judith Stevens are credited as cover artists. Oh man, I don't know. It looks like a picture to me, but maybe there's another cover that I missed, or maybe that's just super photorealistic. Um, we won't do X-Men stuff just yet. Let's do the other ones first, because there's a lot of X-Men books this week. A lot, like 5 out of the 6 that are on gone right now are X-Men books that came out this week. And once again, this was just because they were pushed forward. Next up, we have Guardians of the Galaxy number 12. This will conclude Donny Cates' run in Guardians of the Galaxy. The series so far has been pretty cool. Um, I keep saying people are my favorites, but I mean that's why I pick up their comics, right? Donny Cates is on the script, Corey Smith on pencils, Victor Olasaba on inks, David Curiel on colors, and then there's a lot of different artists because it looks like there's flashbacks and stuff. I always enjoy when they do that. Um, if you haven't been reading the story, the only thing I'll tell you is that Drax that's here may not be the Drax you're familiar with unless you read the old Drax and not watched the movies. But the team is really cool. The story so far has been pretty great. I think Donny Cates has been doing some interesting stuff on the cosmic level, and then I'll use that as a segue to our next book, Revenge of the Cosmic Ghost Rider, number 1. This is a new series, new miniseries. This is part 1 of 5, written by Dennis Hopeless Hallam. So his pen name is Dennis Hopeless, but his name is Dennis Hallam, with art by Scott Hepburn and Antonio Fabella on colors. So, if you've never read any Cosmic Ghost Rider stuff, he was introduced in a story by Donny Cates called Thanos Wins when he was doing the Thanos book. He is a herald of he was a herald of Galactus, but he worked for Thanos in that story. I recommend you go back and read a story. There are some other Cosmic Ghost. He has his own miniseries. He has Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys the Marvel history or the Marvel universe, something like that. And that one's actually written by Paul Scheer from the League or the How Did This Get Made podcast. So it's pretty interesting. I recommend it. He's a cool character. I won't tell you his origin because I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't read Thanos Wins. But his origin story is insane. So next up, I believe this is the last King Thor number 4. And if you've been reading Jason Aaron's Thor from back in the day of Thor God of no, Thor God of Thunder, props to you because there is so much good stuff there. Like you won't even believe it. And I hope I don't spoil myself too much by looking for the credits. Okay, so this is the last one. This is the conclusion. This was a mini series that came out after War of the Realms to kind of tie up Jason Aaron's run on Thor. As you guys may or may not know, Johnny Cage's taking over on Thor. This is the artist is Isar Rivik, and he's the same artist that he did his original Thor God of Thunder run. And then Ives Zvorsina on colors, and there's a lot of guest artists. Some highlights: Gabriel Hernandez Walta, Andrea Sorrentino, Chris Burnham, Nick Pitara, Aaron Cooter, Olivia Copia, Mike Del Mundo. There are some really cool variants for this. The logo was designed by Jay Bowen, and I like to mention that whenever I do see, because these logos are really cool, as you have maybe know from the X-Men line too. Um, and yeah, so I definitely recommend. I don't know how much you'll get out of this miniseries if you haven't read at least some of Jason Aaron's Thor, but I've been reading it since then, and the journey's been pretty amazing. Um, this one's gonna be an interesting thing for me to talk about. So this is Incoming #1. This book was $10, which I'm not very happy about. Especially once inside I look. First of all, I haven't been able to redeem my digital copy, so I still need to work with Marvel on that. This looks to be like a preview book of all their upcoming stories of 2020, which kind of makes the title make sense. I haven't read it. There's too many creators on this thing, so I won't go over everyone. But I think I don't know. I feel like books like these may not need to be $10. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I appreciate Marvel for giving me the digital code, which helps out a lot. But it's when I'm picking up 13 or 14 Marvel books in 1 week. Um, it's not ideal to pay $10 for a book. All right, I'm gonna go in order because there is a reading order for these. So first, it's Marauders #4. We're in the X-Men books now, so we're in for it. And I haven't read any of these, but as you know, I'm really enjoying all the X-Men books. Hence me picking up every one of them. This is by Jerry Duggan with art by Lucas Wernick and Federico Belli on colors, and Corey Petit on letters. So this is the book that follows the pirate team with our captain Kate Pride, aka Shadowcat, as some of you may know her. This book is just a lot of fun. If you like pirate shenanigans and stuff like that, definitely the book you want to jump into. Next up, we have Excalibur #4. Once again, like I said, these books are so interesting. Each one is so different. And this one's written by Tini Howard, who is a writer I recently discovered. I know Adrian, one of the co-hosts on Next Issue, he's talked about her and some of the stuff that he's read from her. I'm really enjoying her writing. I did check out Strike Force. That one was not my cup of tea, but this one, the Excalibur, really is. Like this one deals with all the medieval stuff. It's on the same genre kind of as Once and Future that we talked about earlier. So I'm really enjoying that. I think the Excalibur team has always been really interesting for me as part of the X-Men. So we have Tini Howard on writing, Marcus Stowe as the artist, Eric Arcienega on colors, Corey Petit on letters once again, and Mahmoud Assar and Matthew Wilson did this cover, which I finally found enough willpower to stop buying all the variants that come with these books, because otherwise I'd be buying, so many more X-Men books. Let's see what's next. New Mutants. All right, New Mutants number 4. This book follows pretty much the original team of the New Mutants, written by Ed Brisson, Marco Faya on art, Carlos Lopez on colors, and Travis Lanham on letters. So if you like the team that consists of, the original New Mutants, Magic, Sam, what's his name, Sam Guthrie, Cannonball, uh, Sunspot, just all these second generation of mutants, you'll enjoy that. This book also features a lot of mutants that came out in Grant Morrison's like Generation X run, I believe, like Blob and Armor and just mutants like that. So they're kind of following two lanes, but I really like it. I like Jonathan Hickman wrote on the first few issues. This one is just by Ed Brisson, so I think they kind of know where the story's going from there. Let's see. Okay, next X Force number 4. Like I said, this is. I think I mentioned that this last week because there was another X Force. Then this is where you get your like comic book like action and violence and gore and stuff like that. Like this is where the characters in this book lend themselves to the more violent. Written by Brian Hill with art by Simon Kudranski, Frank Darmada on colors, and Joe Sabino on letters. Um, you know, I can't say enough good things about these books. Laura Kinney, aka Wolverine or X-23, whatever you want to call her now. I guess she's not Wolverine anymore, but Young Cable and Psylocke, but the original Psylocke. Once again, I won't go into all the details of how Psylocke is back in her body, but last for Marvel and the X-Men and all that stuff, we have X-Force number 4. This is another one of the action books. This one has a large cast of mutant characters. So if you like getting a bunch of superheroes for your buck, I think this is one of the better books for that. Written by Benjamin Percy, Joshua Cassara on art, Dean White and Guru FX on colors, and VC's Joe Carmagna on letters. So yeah, that was it. That's all the Marvel books. I did have an issue redeeming um, some of my digital codes, which it's always upsetting because I want to read those books. That's the reason I'm trying to redeem them. But Marvel's usually pretty good about fixing that, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Um, let's go into the DC books. And let's start with the Black Label books, actually. And I've already put them in the sleeves. I got the bags and boards that are magazine size. Not a lot of places around here sell them individually. Boomerang Comics and Louisville does. So go visit them. If you have a bunch of Black Label books and you don't want to buy like 100 pack of bags and boards, like if you only collect one or two of the larger magazine format Black Label books, you should definitely just stop by. It's worth the trip. Um, so this book, the first one is Joker, Killer Smile, and the camera really does not do justice to the cover. It's really cool. Like it has a really cool like 3D effect. This is by Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Jordi Belair. If you're reading Gideon Falls, is the same writer artist team, but instead of Dave Stewart, Jordi Belair is on colors here. This, if you like the Joker, and I think a lot of people like the Joker, I think you'll enjoy this book. Next up, we have Harleen number 3. This is the variant cover. This book is all done by uh, Steban Sejic. This book follows Harley Quinn, like in a pre Joker, before she met the Joker, and kind of explains where that's going. Um, this is a really cool book. I got this cover because I feel like I really like the whole aspect of the playing cards, and Ivy and Joker and everybody on the same cover. I really hope they explore more of Ivy's and Harley's relationship. I've always really enjoyed that. I think the new animated DC show is doing a really good job with that. And then, last but not least, for the Black Label books, I've been waiting for this book for such a long time. It is Wonder Woman, Dead Earth by, once again, one of my favorite writers slash artists. And though that's hard to pull off, that combo is hard to pull off. Daniel Warren Johnson. Um, I read Murder Falcon before I started doing this, but if you haven't read Murder Falcon, I don't know what you're waiting for. You should go read that. I don't even know the premise of this book, but Daniel Warren Johnson's writing it and drawing it, so I'm definitely gonna read it. All right, let's get into the DC books, and I'll try to go a little faster on these. There's not that many. It's just I buy a lot of variants. Um, First up, we have the new Suicide Squad book. Suicide Squad #1 by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo, uh, and colors by Adriano Lucas and letters by Wes Abbott. With the cover by Ivan Reis and Joe Prado and Alex Sinclair. Um, yep, that's it. Tom Taylor's writing this book, so I'm picking it up. Tom Taylor wrote Deceased. He wrote Injustice. He wrote Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So if you like any of that stuff, you're probably going to enjoy his work. I also picked up the blank cover so I can get some commission done at a show or something like that. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Next up, we have Batman Superman number 5. Um, the Batman who laughs and the infected. They're still going after Batman and Superman. This book is by Joshua Williamson writing, David Marquez on art, Alejandro Sanchez on colors, and John J. Hill on letters. If you like to see Batman and Superman on the same team or interact with each other, you'll enjoy this book. I've been really, really enjoying the dynamic of Batman and Superman hanging out together. Let's see. Next up, we have Flash Forward #4. This is a 6-issue miniseries that is following after the events of Heroes in Crisis, and I won't go into detail in case you want to know about that. It follows Wally West. Just know that Wally West did not come out of Heroes in Crisis unscathed. This is written by Scott Lobdell, Brett Booth on pencils, Norm Rapman on inks, and Luis Guerrero on colors, with Troy Peteri on letters, and amazing covers by Doc Shaner. So if you want to follow what's going on with Wally, that's the book I recommend you check out, um, because I think it may lead to Wally's redemption of sorts. Next up, we have Justice League 38, and just real quick, all the DC books have an ad in the back for the upcoming Joker Blu-ray, so that's pretty cool. I really, it's a really nice ad, so it makes your comic book look really cool. But yeah, Justice League 38. The Justice League book has been ramping up for the past few arcs. So this is part 9 of the Justice Doom War, um, with writing by Scott Snyder, Jorge Jimenez on pencils, Daniel Sampier also on pencils, Juan Albarran on inks, Alejandro Sanchez on colors, and Tom Napolitano on letters, with a beautiful cover by Francis Manapul. I love Jorge Jimenez art. I'll follow him to any book since I discovered his art on Earth 2. I've really enjoyed it since then, so I definitely recommend that. We'll leave that till the end. So here, let's talk about this one. So this is Year of the Villain Hell Arisen. This is I believe this is another miniseries. Yeah, 1 of 4. This is what the cover looks like. But I picked up a blank cover because I like picking up blank covers the day they come out. Because if I'm buying the comic book anyways, and then I can get a commission on it or something later on, I think that makes it very worth it. Um, Hell Arisen is based on the event of the Year of the Villain, where Lex Luthor has made an offer. Lex Luthor died and came back, and then has made an offer to the villains in the world, and just there's a lot going on there. So I won't go into too much detail. But next up, we have book 3 of Batman: Last Night on Earth. Another Black Label book, but this one's actually just normal size, prestige format, I guess they call it. Um, this is Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, um, Jonathan Glapion on inks, I believe. I haven't even looked, but I'm pretty sure. I got both covers for that book. And if you started reading Batman with the New 52, you'll know that Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder have written some of my favorite Batman. Well, I guess you wouldn't know that part, but it's some of my favorite Batman comics ever. So I'm a little sad that their run together is ending with this book, but I think it's really cool that they got one more chance to do something with it. All right, speaking of endings, there's a lot of endings in this book. The first one, Doomsday Clock number 12, it finally came out. We've been very patient with Mr. Gary Frank on art, Mr. Jeff Jones on writing, and all the other things he's doing. Brad Anderson in colors, and letters by Rob Lai. This is DC's sequel to the Watchmen comic from the 80s. So this week we got Doomsday Clock that concluded one sequel of the comics, and then we got HBO's Watchmen on Sunday, which concluded the TV sequel of the comic book. So go ahead and check both out. I really recommend both. And cool thing about this, I got some blank Watchmen color covers, so I can get some commissions done. I'm definitely getting Sister Knight, who is a character from the TV show, actually, in one of these. I don't know who to get on the other one. Once convention season starts around, I'm thinking maybe Ozymandias because I really like his Jeremy Irons portrayal of him. I'm thinking maybe Night Owl because I'm a big Batman fan, and that's pretty much the equivalent. All right. Last but not least, before we kind of get out of here, wrap this up because we've been going for a little bit now. We have. I know I just said Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo did one of my favorite Batman runs, but in the past 3 years, I've been reading Tom King's Batman, and the story that he's brought to this book, as well as the team of artists and collaborators and events and things that he's done for Batman, with Batman, against Batman. It's been incredible. His run concludes with this book on the main Batman book, um, Batman 85. This is the conclusion to the City of Bane story. It's extra large, so you get a little more. You also pay a little more. It's $5. This is the cover. The cover on this one's by Tony Daniel. Let me see who's on the inside, because I was just definitely looks like Clayman. Let's see. Oh, DC sometimes puts their credits in the back, and it kills me because I gotta go look. Yep. Okay, so yeah, City of Bane conclusion. Tom King writing. Oh, Mikhail Janin and Hugo Petras on art. Jody Belair on colors. Letters by Clayton Cowell, and the cover by Tony Daniels and Tommy Murray. Um, Tony Daniels will be taking over on art in the upcoming Batman by James Tynion, but I really can't say enough good things about this book. I love this book so much that I haven't even read it because I don't want it to be over. I'll probably read it over the weekend. Um, there was just a lot of endings this week. Like I said, the HBO Watchmen series ended, Star Wars ended, Batman's ending. So it's pretty interesting. It's been an interesting year. It's been a really good year for people that like comic book and geeky things and nerdy stuff. Um, Now, I did mention I wanted to address something, and I want to know how you guys feel about this stuff. One of the reasons I buy so many Marvel books is because they come with a free digital code. Free obviously means that it's been baked into the price of the book. Um, but I've thought about it, and Batman and Justice League have been really some of the only ongoings that I've been collecting from DC. And I'm thinking now that I've gotten a break, I think Scott Snyder will finish his Justice League run soon as well, or at least maybe his story with the Dumore and Perpetua and all that stuff. So I'm thinking maybe it may be time to cut back on the DC books because they don't have a digital code. Like at this point, I really don't have room in my collection for that. Whereas with the Marvel books, even if I buy them, I'm still getting the digital code. And then if I don't want the physical copy later on, I can resell it, donate it, give it away, whatever maybe. And then that way I can focus on because what I don't want to do is I don't want to stop buying comics at the comic book store because I think the it's important to uh, be a patron of whatever businesses you want to give your support to. And I think what I'm gonna do is cut back on the DC books and just use that. Just do the trade waiting where I just wait for the for the collection. Um, it feels like a good time. It feels like they're giving me an out with the end of Tom King's Batman. I've been picking up Batman ongoing since 2012 when I started collecting books, and I went back and I got all the stuff from 2011 from Scott Snyder. So it'll be interesting. We'll see. I guess you guys. I'm gonna keep doing this pull list video slash stream. So I do the stream and then I export the video, put that up on YouTube. Let me know what you guys are pulling. Send me recommendations. Send me your thoughts on different things. How do you buy your comic books? What do you do the things you do? Let me know if you read any of these books, what you thought about them. Hopefully, I'll read most of them, so there'll be no spoilers there. Uh, and I can't recommend enough um, Tom King's Batman. You can, I'll tell you what, if you don't want to go buy it, you can go to the library and borrow like the first maybe 8 or 9 trades. But I think after you get into one or two, and the first trade was not my favorite, but I think once I go back and put it in context with the larger story, it makes it so much better. Like kind of like when I watched The Dark Knight, and then I went back to rewatch Batman Begins. It elevated that story for me. It feels like kind of the same. So Tom King's been building something pretty amazing, at least in my opinion. Uh, so I definitely recommend that. Uh, but that's it. I don't see any questions in the chat. So to those who joined live, um, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Uh, we will be getting back to normal episodes of the podcast pretty soon. We've been putting out some. We've been lucky enough to have like different things on kind of like on the back burner that we've recorded or pre-recorded or were gonna happen. Um, so the last episode we put up was from the Who Needs Sleep show that we just had. It was the panel with my co-host. I wasn't able to be there, but we had Alex Gallimore, kind of naming the best of 2019. If you haven't seen that or you haven't heard it, go listen to it. We sent out a survey that Adrian put together, sent it out to the community around us, and they kind of voted on all that stuff. But then, like I said, let us know what you're picking up. What are your plans for 2020? What are you excited for in 2020? This may be the last stream of the year, and I've only done a few, but this may be the last stream of the year for this. And then once we hit 2020, I'll get back on it. I don't know how many books are coming out next week because we just had a whole bunch. Look at this stack. This is ridiculous. I know I bought some variants and the blank covers, but look at this stack. That's crazy, right? So yeah, um, you can find us on Twitter at Next Issue Pod. You can find me on Twitter at Echo Spider. So go drop us a line, send us a message, retweet, whatever. Let us know what's on your pull list on Mondays. We like to put out a call for people's pull list on Mondays, just because we want to know. There's a lot of stuff that I may not know is coming out, especially like indie comics and stuff. What should we be reading? And let us know what you guys want to hear about on the show. But thank you to anyone that joined. I hope you guys are enjoying these. I'm having a pretty good time doing them. I'll keep working on the set. And yeah, so